Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1970s.
Marco!
Polo! This is episode 133, recorded February 10th, 2021.
Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, I am your host, Doc Rotten, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1970 and 1979. We tickle ourselves too easily. Each episode, my co-host Jeff Mohr and I will tackle another classic or not so classic film from this wondrous, groovy, gory, and influential decade. With me this week, as always, is my co-host Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
Mama.
Mommy.
Oh, yes. I guess we should say we're talking about Shook from MARIO BAVA from 1977, because otherwise you may have no idea what's going on.
Wow, you got all that from what Jeff said? What? You're
Wow,
good.
yeah.
You're good.
Yep.
Our listeners are smart.
Yes, they are. They are indeed. All right. Joining us tonight is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, and say it with me, all around nice guy. Bill, how you doing?
I'm doing great. We're doing a Mario Bava movie, so I'm a happy man.
Yes, this was your choice.
Yes.
There's how many 70s Bava films are there to choose from?
Not very many. I mean, it was heading toward the end here. So there's only so many opportunities we have to do a Bava 70s film.
Right, and this is his final one.
This is the last one that we'll be able to do. There was one more film that he co-directed with his son for Italian TV, but I don't know if that's even available.
All right. Also joining us tonight is Chad Hunt, comic artist, co-host of Decades of Horror, the classic era, Marco Polo. How you doing, Chad?
I am awesome. I am trying to get past the fact that this is the second movie in 1 week that I've watched people being walled up behind a brick wall or corpses behind a brick wall.
Ooh.
We just did Tales of Terror on classic era.
Yes,
Sure.
yes.
The Poe story, and so there's plenty of bodies behind walls. You just have to know where to look.
Yep. So spoilers.
Whoops.
As that's the big secret of the film.
And-
as if you couldn't figure it out from frame one. All right, what are we talking about tonight? What we're going to do is we're going to give our first impressions. When we first saw this film, then we're going to chat about the film. We're going to chat it up good, and then we're going to wrap things up at the end. All right, the film is Shock, Mario Bava's Shock. It was released March 23rd, 1977. Directors Mario Bava. Of course, Lamberto Bava, his son, was uncredited, did some scenes. Writers Lamberto Bava, Gianfranco Barifi.
Sure.
Barberi. Where did the F come from? I don't know. Alessandro, Parenzo, and Dardano, and the cast includes.
You just blew that last one off completely.
Yeah.
Forget that.
This Dardano.
Klaatu, Barada.
Man, the cast includes Daria Nicolodi, John Steiner, Colin Jr., and Ivan Rassimov.
Sure it does.
Doc, you have to say it. You have to say it with authority, whether you're right or not. Just act like you know it.
Exactly.
No trailing off at the end. Or
Right.
I was hoping that would go unnoticed. So much for that.
Sure.
Beyond the score, the development of the cycle of evil is about to occur. ... Again. That almost sounds like the synopsis. A synopsis is a couple is terrorized in their new house, haunted by the vengeful ghost of the woman's former husband, who possesses their young son. Some of you, we'll start this off because there's something that needs to be said about this film. Most of you probably already know, but many of you might be going, I didn't know Mario Bava made a movie called Shock in 1977. I don't remember a movie called Shock coming out in 1977. That's because
There's good reason for that.
if you're stateside, we saw the movie as Beyond the Door 2.
Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
It's a new pattern that they started where if you have the same kid in it, you just call it the same title too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, oh my gosh, how many films would do this in the 80s, between Zombie and House and all the others? But
Demons, the whole Demons thing became a great riff by Joe Bob Briggs. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a thing. But I guess the thing it hasn't come beyond the door is the kid being the target, right?
Yeah,
So,
and in fairness, there are some doors, and
yeah, but there's no beyond it. Anyway, we'll
Yeah,
get
But beyond the wall.
Should have been beyond the brick wall. Yeah.
the wall. But Pink Floyd stopped them.
right.
All right, let's get into this. Let me go through all the stats, and then we'll give our first impressions. Right? We already did the synopsis. We already did all the cast and everything. Released March 23rd, 1979 for those. And I guess we did everything because the box office is the only thing left, and we don't know how much the budget is. But apparently, it made somewhere around. Well, it looks like it made about $250,000 in 1977. So.
Yeah, it made almost 200 million lira, which isn't a lot of dollars.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I have no idea.
It was not a major success in Italy, and it made what it made here. I mean, I don't know how they calculate these things for a movie that probably was on the second or third billing at drive-ins.
If I do remember it coming out because I was a fan of Beyond the Door. So when Beyond the Door 2 was in the papers, I wanted to go see it, but I was a wee lad and I couldn't go see it because it was rated R. So
yeah, and you probably would have been disappointed because it didn't have Nanny from Nanny and the Professor, and
no kidding, no spinning heads, no vomit.
Yeah, right.
All right, let's do this. When did we first see the film? And what was our first impression? Bill Mulligan, since this was your choice, I want you to go first, sir.
Ooh, I don't know exactly when it was, but it would have been on DVD. Remember, there was a time when Blockbuster you could send DVDs through the mail.
Mm-hmm.
You could rent. Okay, so that's where I saw it. I just when I discovered that, I'm like, oh my gosh! So I could start filling in all the holes in my film history, and I went on a Bava kick and ordered everything they had. And this was one of them. I remember seeing this in the video stores. But I just figured Beyond the Door wasn't one of my favorite films anyway, but it was okay. But I figured the sequel would be terrible. If I had noticed that it was a Mario Bava film, I might have done something. But the things that I read back in those days about Bava used the correct names for titles, so I was kind of clueless that it was called Beyond the Door too. So I saw it more than 10 years ago, and I liked it. It didn't hit me the way other Bava films had because it didn't have that rich use of color. He didn't do the cinematography in this one, but I was still very impressed with the little touches. Now that I've really kind of filled in all the gaps with Bava and I know more about the behind the scenes of it, I can appreciate it for what it is, which is his last film, a film that he more or less got dragged into doing by his son, and sort of as a way of him passing the torch on to Lamberto. So it's kind of a labor of love, not so much a love of the filmmaker for the film itself, but I think of the people around him realizing that this was probably close to his last hurrah and giving the old master a chance to do one more film at a time when he wasn't getting the credit that he now has. I mean, now, of course, he's recognized. Right. So I like it. It's not top tier Bava, but it's still an interesting film, I think.
Yeah, if you do pay attention, there are flourishes that appear from time to time. We'll talk about those as we go along. All right. Up next is the one and only Chad Hunt. Sir, when did you first see this, and what was your first impression?
I saw this many years ago, whenever it came out on DVD or whatever, and not liking it very much. But I wasn't too into Bava, and I didn't know much about Bava at the time. But we've covered quite a few Bava films between classic era and here at 70s. And I've come to really, really like his movies, Black Sunday and Black Sabbath and all the great movies. And as I was watching this, I was like, oh man, another kid with an Oedipus complex. Maybe
a little,
but a little bit. But I enjoyed watching it, but I kept having the feeling that I wish he could have gone out on a better movie. That even though I enjoyed watching it again, and I kind of have a better appreciation of it now than I did back when I first saw it. but it does have some moments. Like you guys were saying, it has some creepy moments. It has some Bava moments, as I'll say. But for the most part, I just kept having this nagging feeling that I wish his last film would have been such a better movie than this. And it just, I don't know. I'm sort of on the fence about it. Even though I enjoyed watching it, I still have that I wanted it to be better for his last film.
Better? Oh,
yeah.
I think even the I think even Bill Mulligan, who is the most Bava fan of Bava fans I know, would probably agree with you on that. Would you not, Bill Mulligan?
Yeah, I would say that in a sense, you could argue that his last real film that he had complete control over and a good budget and everything else was a great film, Lisa and the Devil. Now, of course, it was butchered and terrible things happened to it. His next film was uncompleted, Kidnapped, released later as Rabid Dogs after he died. So, I mean, he went into he was having bad luck. Things weren't really working out. The time had passed by. He was more or less retired, and his son dragged him out of retirement to do this movie. But this is about as low budget, I think, as Bava ever worked with. There's not a lot of sets, not a lot of the kind of things, the swooping camera work and everything that he was sort of famous for. This is Bava working on a real minuscule budget. You still see, and it's a very small cast. And from that point of view, it's like a guy going back and doing indie films after making it in Hollywood. And I think that's kind of interesting. Some filmmakers can never do that. They can never go back. They have to keep going forward. And once they reach Hollywood, it's like now the movies they make aren't that good. It's like, dude, just go back to when you were making it in your backyard. But it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
Jeff Mohr, you're up next, sir. Well, when did you first see this film, and what was your first impression?
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Well, I knew Bill was going to pick it eventually, so I kind of held off. And then I watched it again today. All right. So we got the same damn kid as in Beyond the Door, but for some reason, apparently he's kicked his green pea soup habit with the straw. And once again, I don't know if you noticed this or not, Chad, but once again, Bill picks a movie with a disembodied hand, even though it's a plastic hand.
Yeah.
That's right.
I noticed that. Didn't want to bring it up, but I noticed it.
But and really, what's up with that hand? It means something, I think. I don't know.
Well, I think I know. I think we'll get into that.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
there.
What's with the swing? And some of the stuff was just, can I have a dog that looks like mommy? And then,
what breed is that?
A really weird, that weird grunting wrestling sequence with mom, where he's laying on top of his mom.
That was awkward.
Could that be any creepier? But
at least they changed the hands at one time. It was like,
well, there was a scene that kind of made me think of, and there's probably other ones like this. I'm not an expert on this at all, but there's this kind of a precursor to A Nightmare on Elm Street, where she has this nightmare, and when she wakes up from her nightmare, some of the stuff that was done to her in the nightmare has actually happened to her.
Yep.
So a little bit of that in there. So there's some disturbing things in here. I loved like the last 15 to 20 minutes. I thought was just bizarre as hell. Although, this is the last thing I'm going to say, but this is very much Daria Nicolodi's film, and I think she does a good job for what she has. It's hard to tell how good the script is, if it, with translations and things, because some of it there's just some weird things they say that doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah.
They use colloquialisms the wrong way, kind of, and some of the scenes that were supposed to be the happy family scenes feel like a dream from a nightmare movie or something.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about the puppet show, right? That was my favorite scene in the movie because those kids looked terrified. They were not having fun at all.
This is fantastic. Okay, I'm done. But I enjoyed it because you could see some Bava stuff in there.
You can see, there is some Bava stuff, and when you see the Bava stuff, it shines. And then there's some stuff that's obviously not Bava, and it stands out, doesn't it? But it did lead to somebody becoming quite prolific in his own right. But I remember wanting to watch this and not being able to because the copy that I ended up watching was so bad, I just turned it off because it was, it just wasn't a good copy for a long time. So I knew we would eventually. So when it came time that we were doing the 70s, I knew at some point we were going to do it. So I've been holding off. Even when I noticed. Even when I noticed that that the timer went off, even though my time's up, good night. Even though I noticed it was on like Amazon Prime and other places, I still held off because waiting for this moment. So I did finally get to see it over the past weekend. It's an uneven film, and if you're going to like it, you're going to like it in one of two ways. You're going to like it because you're a Bava-fan, and it has meaning in that respect. And there's and there are moments, and there are some moments that we need to discuss because they became not only defining moments. I didn't realize how much some of the moments were used in the promotion, but they would get aped in films. Like Jeff was saying, there's one scene in particular that you see in at least one or two movies a year. And we'll talk about that here in a sec. Most of you who've seen it already know what I'm talking about. But the other way is like, if you're a fan of drive-in movies, this was the kind of film you would get as the B picture in a drive-in film, right? Or the third one in a drive-in film, right? You might get three of these in that case. And it just has that, that really boring first hour. And then the last half hour kicks in and you kind of wish you had that throughout the whole film because and then something a little better to close it. But so yes, I liked it. It's not my favorite of his by a long shot. Right. And it certainly isn't a Beyond the Door movie. I know, Bill, that you don't like Beyond the Door, but
it is
Door,
what it is.
But Beyond the Door, as bad as it is, has a very special place in my heart. I
sure
enjoy
it. And you're right. These are the kind of movies you'd go to a drive-in. We had drive-ins back where I was, and the first film, if it was a triple feature horror thing, the first one would be The Real Reason You Were There, and that was some American international pick, an American movie.
Food of the Gods or something like
right. A lot of advertising and stuff, and it was what it is. Then the second film would be something like this, a foreign dubbed movie that sometimes had a lot of style, but was often a slow burn kind of thing. And then the third one, if you stuck with it, would be some god awful piece of garbage like an Andy Mulligan movie or something they just found somewhere. And
Extra.
Oh yeah, just
like
something really over the top.
That movie. Oh my god, that movie.
So this would be the classy film in the 3 or 4 films that you got to see.
Yeah.
So
it is what it is. But okay, so I want to bring up one moment before we get too far into this because I kind of heavily hinted at it. If you catch one of the posters, I'm not sure if we have a version of it. Let's see. There's the Beyond the Door one. There's his face.
Yeah.
There's the shock where she's screaming. That's a great shot of it.
It is.
There's this one. This is the book
cover. I wish I'd included the original to see just what a ripoff. It's basically the exact same poster, except instead of holding a box cutter, she's holding flowers. The artist should have sued their butts off. But
I would imagine they bought the rights to it when they did.
I imagine they didn't even think of buying the rights to it. That thought never crossed their minds.
Yeah, this one's
wasn't that from the Shirley Jackson novel?
Yeah.
The cover of that.
Man. I do like the top one here with the hands because I mean they and this one with the swing means something.
See, that gives it a very Suspiria look, doesn't it?
Yeah, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But the one they don't have is the one where it has. It's more like, which one? It's more like this top one here, but it has the kid in it, and there's like 5 versions of them. And this is the first movie that I know of. And Bill, I'm going to ask you if you know of another one where you have a kid run up to the mom and say, "Mommy, mommy, mommy," and then when they get to the mom, they're out of frame, and then the man jumps up or goes.
No, that's my favorite shot, probably from the whole film. And so simple. See, that's why I like Bava. Bava was a magician, that who could do simple tricks, and when they're explained, you're like, oh, well, that seems pretty easy, but why don't other people do it? It's the simplest thing in the world. You just have to have the camera framed right. The guy's standing real close to the camera, out of frame. The kid comes running, and as soon as he goes out of frame, the guy jumps up. And I jumped out of my skin the first time I saw it. I totally did not expect that. It's a great, simple shot that requires no CGI, no editing, just good camera placement. And that was his thing. He was trained as a cinematographer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why his films, have that resonance. Now, this one he did not photograph. I think by this point, his health was beginning to fail. And the thought of taking on that many things, doing the effects and the directing and the camera work was probably too much. I mean, it took a bit to get him to come and do the movie in the first place.
Yeah. Well, he didn't even do all the directing, which is fine. That.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing too. There's been some discussion about how exactly that worked out. And Bava's first directorial movie was, what was it? The one with the blob, Kaltiki, the Immortal Monster.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And the story of that one was that his friend Ricardo Freitas started directing it with full intention that he was going to ditch the movie and let his cinematographer Bava take over. That's his story. And a lot of people speculate that was his thing here too, is that he would just say, I'm feeling kind of tired, I'm going to go home. Lamberto, you take over. So this is a way of giving his kid the chance to get his feet wet, doing some co-directing and everything. I think he mostly let him do the scenes that were not critically important. Like Ivan Rassimov thought that Lamberto directed the whole movie because his scene was directed by Lamberto, but he's got like one big scene. Right. That's it. Well, that was it. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know where I was going with this.
I don't know, but the one scene, I mean,
that's a great. That scene.
Horror movies today use it, and you see it over and over again. Anytime.
Yeah,
a kid is running toward a person, they're going to do that, and it's a great jump scare. And and there are a few other scenes that are signature Bava. One of them, I think, is kind of brand spanking new for me. Maybe you've seen it elsewhere, and that's a scene where Daria is dreaming or watching something, and her hair is kind of floating in front of her face. She's obviously on like a gimbal of some sort, and it's just so dreamlike, and so
it's really well done. And I think this was one of the things he really, the whole reason for making the movie was to do this shot where she's on a bed, a rotating bed that can spin around, and the camera is in front of her. So from our point of view, she's sitting still, but she's actually spinning, and that makes her hair fly around, but it doesn't look like they're blowing it with a leaf blower or anything. It has a very unique look. And Daria does a good job. I mean, the one thing with that is she has to hold her head back without making it look unnatural. It's a clever thing that Bava was just good at using simple trickery. The use of just a paper cutout in the shape of a hand, shining a light through it and having that light go on the walls and tracking. Simplest thing in the world, but you're like, well, you don't see too many. If they tried to do that nowadays, like, well, we're going to use, we're going to comp it in After Effects and da-da-da. It's like, yeah, give me a piece of cardboard and an X-Acto knife, and we can do the same thing. And it'll have an effect. It'll have a look that you can't replicate easily in post-production work.
Yep.
Well, the thing that was kind of cool with the bed scene was they had the lights, but it also seemed like there might have been hands underneath the sheets. It seemed like the sheets were forming into fingers a little bit to me.
Oh, that's cool. I'll have to check that again.
Maybe I'm the only one who saw that.
Well, because that is an interesting thing. How'd they keep the sheets from just like flopping out when they flipped her upside down? So, yeah, that's an interesting thought. I mean, it's not as easy as I just described it. There has to be a lot of planning. And these guys were good planners. They were great craftsmen. He was a second generation filmmaker. His father was like the godfather of Italian special effects technicians, but it was so long ago that probably a lot of his films were silent and probably all been lost. And that makes Lamberto a third generation. It's unusual to see a family stay in the business for that amount of time.
Yeah, unless they're named Barrymore, right?
Yeah. Right.
Oh man, we a big thing about this. We have a very small cast, right? We have a three-piece family, and then we have the Ghosty Poo and a doctor, right? That's basically it.
Did you say Ghosty Poo?
Ghosty Poo.
I did. We have a Ghosty Poo.
Just making sure.
Let's talk about Daria Nicolodi.
Bill,
this is one of your dream actresses, right?
Yes, one of many. I'm surprised you don't get letters like, is there any actress this guy doesn't like? I mean, but I've always had affection for the women who are in horror movies, and there's just a certain type I like, and she's exactly the type I like. She's of course beautiful, but not beautiful in a artificial way. Mm-hmm. And also there's just kind of an intelligence about her. And the more you find out about the actual person, you realize, she co-wrote Suspiria, got no credit for it, and did not really make, as when you look at her IMDb and everything, you realize she wasn't really in that much stuff. She was in a lot of Dario Argento stuff. They had an interesting relationship. She was in some of his things, and she made this, but she didn't make a lot of things. And I think it's too bad because I really like her. I love her in Deep Red. But I think this is probably her best role because it is a small cast, and she's in most of the scenes.
Mm-hmm. She's the best. She's the best part of this movie.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
and the dubbing's atrocious. Yeah, the dubbing's atrocious. So we can't really judge it on that. But in terms of how she acts, I mean, so much of what she's doing is reacting and emoting silently. The film would work probably just as well without the sound, except for the soundtrack, which I kind of like. But yes, she's got a beautiful face. She's sympathetic. She plays crazy pretty well. She plays tormented pretty well. Mm-hmm. I didn't like her scream, but I'm not sure that was her scream.
Probably
I don't know.
I don't think it was. Yeah.
Well, she was Argento's muse, right, for a bit.
I think that's fair. And then she became kind of his punching bag. Not literally, as far as I know, but I mean, you look at some of the later movies, and it's like, hey, hon, you want to be in my movie? Sure. What happens in this one? Oh, you get your face sliced off with a razor welded by a chimpanzee.
Yeah.
You're going to look through a peephole in a door, and we're going to have a bullet go right through your eye and out the back of your head. It's like, we've got issues, don't we? Yeah. And she's the mother of Azia Argento. So luckily for Azia, she got her good looks from her mom. Isn't that weird how that happens? I don't think I'm speaking out of school here. Dario Argento's not an attractive man, but his daughter is beautiful. And that seems to be, a lot of times these really ugly rock and roll stars marry supermodels and they have kids. And the kids, at least the girls, luckily always look like the mom. Thank God they don't look like, the lead singer of Aerosmith or Klaus Kinski or something, because that would be horrifying.
Oh, well, send your letters to Bill at.
Yes. If you're the lead singer of Aerosmith and I really just ticked you off, please get up off your bed full of money and write an angry tweet.
He knows what he looks like.
Yeah, there's no, come on. They didn't pick him for his looks.
He's coming to talk to you.
If he was Steve Tyler, the garbage collector, trust me, he would not be dating supermodels.
There you go. Well, here's the scene, the shot here I have in the middle of the scene we were talking about earlier on the bed. There's the hand, the boy's hand gets replaced by an adult's hand. That made us all feel a little better.
A little. Isn't it sad that a corpse's hand makes us feel better?
Yeah, because if it's been the kid's hand, it would have been a little.
Oh, God. At least it's not incest. It's just necrophilia.
Yes.
Woo! Bullet dodged.
Hey, if you choose your poison wisely. And then there's one of Chad's favorite scenes with a hand coming out of the door with a knife.
Loved it.
Box cutter.
Box cutter even. Yes. That box cutter played a big role in the last part of the film. But there are more people in this film. And I'm looking for here we go down here, John Steiner.
John Steiner. Interesting looking guy. Usually plays bad guys like Nazis. Makes a good Nazi. But he was sympathetic here.
Salon Kitty. Is that his name?
Oh God, no, it's Salon Kitty.
Sounds like a movie. What a name for a Nazi, huh?
It's a Nazi exploitation film based on a true story. And it's directed by Tinto Bass. He was also in another Tinto Bass movie, Caligula, which is, So he was in lots of offbeat stuff there. But I don't remember him ever playing a sympathetic character except for this movie. And I kept waiting for him to turn out to be the bad guy. Because, he's John Steiner and that's what he does. But no, he was a pretty good guy all the way through for all the good it did him.
Sort of. I mean, mostly. I mean, he was a little manipulative in one way.
Yeah.
One of the things I liked was that whenever there is some foreshadowing in this, so that whenever he has like a weird stern look or something, it means something. So when he goes up and locks the basement door and he does kind of a, it's just the way he does it. You're going, this means more than just locking the door. And then later on, she says something about, why are we in this house? And he gives her a look like, why we're in this house. Stop, because we can't afford to have anybody digging the basement.
Yeah. We don't want them poking around that obviously fake brick wall that we have down at the bottom.
No.
Complaining about
the freshly mortared brick wall that's like, 7 years old or something?
Right.
I mean, how old is it? Anyway.
Yep.
Right.
No one will ever know.
Yeah. Wow, good. Very good.
All right. Then we also have
this creepy little
David Colin Jr., right? As Marco
Polo.
We have no coordination whatsoever.
Not at all, but the effort's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, give him credit. He let him put those horrifying glass contact lenses in his eyes without making a fuss about it.
Yeah.
Among the questions I had about this film and the treatment of the boy.
Yeah.
I'd rather look at this kid than the kid with the same issues from, what was it?
Burial Ground?
Night of the Living. Yeah, Burial Ground.
Yeah.
Please.
I'll bet what they did is they told him, if you let us put these contact lenses in, we'll let you wrestle with Daria Nicolodi again.
Yeah.
We did 2 films.
That would get me on board.
This and Beyond.
Yeah,
the
2
Door.
whole films. Yeah.
Beyond the Door. Oh gosh, yeah. So I guess we can't really say much about him other than these 2 films.
He's creepy. I mean, I don't want to say this about a kid, but he's all grown up now, and I'm sure he sees pictures and knows that he was creepy. But he's creepy in a different way. He's certainly different in a creepy way than the guy from Burial Ground. That's like next level creepy. But he's got this weird.
That's like a 30-year-old playing a 12-year-old.
He wasn't really a kid.
Yeah. He's got like a mischievous little smile. He's got a little that really works well for this. Like he's got a secret, and that works. Like there's something going on behind his eyes.
That evil look at the top is good.
He's also.
Well, he's actually acting. I mean, he's doing a good job of acting. So
yeah.
All right, then we have the doctor, right? Right, this is the doctor.
Ivan Rassimov, one of my favorites, because I was on a cannibal kick, and he was in almost every Italian cannibal movie. Jungle Holocaust, Man from Deep River.
Oh my God!
I hadn't realized that he was in Planet of the Vampire, so this was not his first Bava film. So he was in a lot of stuff back then. Spasmo. A good-looking guy. Handsome leading man type, and then you throw him into the jungle and he's being eaten alive by cannibals. So he shows up in a lot of those movies because once I think he was in Jungle Holocaust. Diodato's Jungle Holocaust is one of the first ones, and then all the other Italian directors start making their cannibal movies, and they're like, we got to get this guy because he was in that one and that one was successful. So he shows up a lot.
And there's the hand again, and there's a shot that the one at the top. I think all 3 of these feel obviously Mario, right? Because
lighting. Definitely
beautiful lighting.
The light coming from behind the dress, of course. So.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this film, I think what marks it as a Mario Bava film is when you look at his movies, there's an effort made to make even the ordinary shots that are, not the special effect shot, but to tell an interesting story, some composition, some.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we lost you, Bill.
And he's out of here,
All
ladies
right.
and gentlemen.
We'll see if his sound comes back hopefully soon. Let's talk about Lamberto Bava. Is of course Mario Bava's son, and we know him. I probably Demons is the one we know the most.
Yeah.
Are you back, Bill? Nope, he's still not back.
Nope.
All right. He's got to figure out his sound. This will be fun. Let's see how long we can watch him. But Demons is the one that we know the most, right?
Yeah.
I'd
And
say.
Demons was a. I love Demons. That was a cool '80s horror film, So he.
Bill. Well, it's iconic, right? I mean, Demons is iconic.
Yeah. He's drowning, folks.
1 minute, he'll be right back. All right,
Okay.
we're about to get rid of the. This is doing a live stream podcast. This is what you get. All right, here he comes. He's coming back, folks. Are you there? Nope.
Wah, wah, wah.
Good. Check his sound. Is he going to leave us again?
Oh, he's in.
This could be a good thing. Bill can't talk.
All right. Well, I don't want to talk about Mario Bava without Bill here. Right? It's kind of
Get the final word, Jeff.
Oh no!
Take this with your demonic hands.
Come on, Bill. You can do it. Oh, he's gone again. We love Bill, everybody.
We did.
So Lamberto Bava is, Demons. What other films that, there's this Devilfish movie, which is like.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Probably bad. Macabre, of course, was up there. Blade in the Dark. But, I don't know if I've seen much of, there's a lot of TV stuff, and I don't think I've seen much of that at all. I don't even know if I've seen Mask of Satan.
I've never seen that one. The only ones I'm really familiar with are the Demons movies.
Yeah, definitely.
This better be working.
Yeah,
it's working.
He's back. He is back, folks. All right. We were stalling because we didn't want to talk about Bava.
I know. What kind of cosmic screwing would that be?
Yeah, so we're, it would definitely be.
No idea why that happened. I could hear you guys the whole time.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Mario Bava because you made
the
best graphic of all these films. And
Look at all that.
Mario Bava, for me, is responsible for what I consider one of the scariest scenes in most any movie. Just one scene, and that's the Black Sabbath. The
drink of water.
Yeah. And that she scares the crap out of me. I can't even look at still pictures of her without feeling it just is frightening.
It's terrible.
And isn't the end genius when you've got the guys flinging the trees past Bars Karloff?
Yes. To me,
isn't that just a genius ending?
That's the perfect Bava shot because you also realize that's exactly the kind of stuff he did. That's how he was able to make Planet of the Vampires a science fiction movie with crazy sets that were probably about the size of a table. And just using forced perspective and simple things made what looks like a big budget science fiction movie for a low budget Italian horror movie budget.
Yeah.
That's, really impressive stuff.
And Bay of Blood, that's a big precursor to the modern slasher movie, Friday the 13th.
Well, the thing I love about Bava is that, he was good at almost everything that he did. And you're like, okay, so Bay of Blood is like the proto slasher film. Yeah. Danger Diabolic is like a modern superhero movie told back at a time that superhero movies were Batman. That's about as good as it got.
Which just came out, I think, Blu-ray from
probably
somebody.
His the Black Sunday is an amazing gothic, black and white gothic film.
That's one of the most beautiful black and white films ever.
Gorgeous
film.
And Black
Beautiful
Sunday
movie.
is a portmanteau. So, you know, I mean, he tried different things. He also made Westerns. He made Hercules in the Haunted World, which is probably the best of the Peplum kind of muscle man Hercules movies. He just brought a certain work ethic to everything he did and just had an amazing eye. Black Sabbath, every frame is like a Rembrandt. His use of color and everything. And I guess that's one of the things I was a little disappointed with Shock, is that it's filmed more realistically. Now, I think that was probably a deliberate choice. Because the film before this was Kidnapped, which had it been finished and come out when it was supposed to, I think people would be saying, well, this is clearly a movie that influenced Quentin Tarantino, because it's kind of got that Reservoir Dogs sort of realism and everything, but it didn't come out, so I don't think that's the case. I think, you know, they were probably looking at the box office and everything and realized that his kind of gothic thing, Lisa and the Devil, it just didn't have any modern appeal, so they were trying for something a little bit different. But yeah, just, I mean, these are some amazing films here, except for Dr. Goldfoot and the freaking.
I'm glad you mentioned that because people do have it has Vincent Price.
Oh, yeah.
And it does have, you know, I guess
people yell at me about not liking that movie. I'm like, did you see it?
Yeah,
it's horrible, but in a good way. Horrible.
Oh my god, it just feels like so camp.
Just campy as hell, and just.
Bava did not speak English. That's probably the reason why he did not come to Hollywood and become, you know, the next Hitchcock, because he actually liked staying in Italy where he could understand what people were saying. And trying to do a comedy in another language that you don't speak seems to me doomed to failure, because the actors will be saying something, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, I guess he told the joke well. I guess he hit the high points. But for all you know, it's terrible. And it was terrible. It was terrible. Vincent Price thinks it was the worst movie he ever made. And Vincent Price made a few stinkers.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he made another one. Oh gosh.
Right. Other than that, I mean, okay, so one out of how many movies does he have on his list? I mean, he directed.
It says 39. But...
All right, 1 out of 39 is a hell of a good. If you were a baseball player and that was your batting average, you'd be the greatest. You'd be the greatest of all time.
As long as you don't count House of Exorcism.
No, I don't. Yeah, that's true. We're not going to count House of Exorcism.
But I was surprised.
We've done a couple on Classic Era. We did Black Sunday, which Bill joined us for, and
Black Sabbath. Sabbath, we did.
Yeah.
No, we haven't done that one yet.
Black Sabbath.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
We did Black Sunday.
In this corner, ladies and gentlemen.
I think we did Caltiki.
Blood and Black Lace.
Caltiki.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah. But
we're going to do. We've got Planet of Vampires on the list. It's coming up.
Ooh, excellent choice.
Yeah. Black Sunday and Black Sabbath, I think, are the ones most people recognize from him. I would, you know, the casual horror fan would definitely know those. I mean, Black Sunday has, you know, that iconic shot, Barbara Steele, right?
Yeah.
Barbara Steele, I had the actress, right? You know, with
Yep.
all the holes in her face. And of course, it's the only time Boris Karloff ever played a vampire was in.
Right.
He ate a kid.
He did.
Yeah.
I just want to. Okay, so I want to. There's many of his films I still want to see.
Yeah.
Most of them are in the 70s, and I Hatchet for Honeymoon. I don't know if I've seen that one. I saw Bay of Blood, and I was surprised how great it is.
Yeah.
It is an absolutely great film.
Yeah.
And it is so much the precursor of everything, and especially Friday the 13th. But it is just
and you guys did that on 70s. I was off that week, but
the Bay of Blood,
yeah.
So I mean, he's a great director. It's if you are a horror fan and you haven't had the chance to watch his films outside of maybe, you know, one or two, because they're not, you don't catch them everywhere, right?
No.
You know, they're not.
Sometimes the streaming channels like Shock will do a Bava Fest or something where they pick a bunch out and it's a chance to see some of the classics, and then they'll also slip in one that doesn't get seen that often, like $5 for an August Moon, and even lesser Bava. I mean, the man, he was a working director. He wasn't just sitting around waiting for the perfect project. Sometimes a project would come along and it's a Western, so he made a Western. His Westerns are interesting, more interesting than they would be if they were directed by one of the 100 other Italian directors that were making regular Westerns. They're nothing to write home about, but they've got qualities there. He wasn't the kind of guy who would just hack something out just to bring home a paycheck. He had a certain pride in what he was doing, even if what he was doing was never going to be one of the classics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen that Roy Colt in the Winchester, Jack?
I think I might have seen that one. I think that's the one I did see. There was another one. There was a Viking movie that was actually pretty good. You know, so
Eric the Conqueror, or is that
Eric the Conqueror. It's got some good stuff. I mean, I like watching his films, just the way he's able to take, like, okay, I've got 10 guys dressed up as Vikings. How do I make it look like a Viking horde? Mirrors, edits, you know, simple little tricks and everything to make it look way more impressive than it is. And you can see the good directors, Orson Welles doing Chimes at Midnight or something. The good directors figure out a way. They know the camera. They know what the camera is capable of, especially if, like Bava, you're a cinematographer. You know the tricks that you can do. And it's always a joy to see that. It's like watching a magician who's not necessarily David Copperfield. He's just doing some stuff with cards, but you're seeing like the skill that this sleight of hand has, and it's actually, to me, more impressive than watching something big where he made the tiger disappear. But if I had that cage, I could probably make the tiger disappear because the trick's in the cage. When a guy's doing sleight of hand in front of you, the trick's in the skill of the fingers, which I'll never have. So to me, that's always been more impressive.
Yeah, I think when I realized his contributions the most is when I got to see Black Sabbath on the big screen on a retro film one time, and
that would be cool.
The colors and the cinematography just pop on the big screen. And you really get. I mean, because I probably first saw that on like a little black and white TV back in the day, right? Or
I think I did too. I'm right there with you.
So my memory of it isn't the crispest, although I've seen it over and over and over again. It's one of my favorites of his, or it is probably my favorite of his. But when I saw it on the big screen,
it's like it's painted.
Oh my God, it's so.
You know what it reminds me of? Some of the scenes with Karloff, especially Karloff's craggy face at that point and everything, the color. They look like. Remember the guy who used to do the covers of Famous Monsters of Filmland, Basil Go? Yeah, that's what it reminded me of. Just the primary colors, but used in a really expert way that just, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
literally fantasy, fantastic, good stuff, just great stuff.
And like we said,
why am I thinking that we did Black Sabbath already? Classic.
I have no idea.
Maybe we talked about it.
Talk about so much.
Maybe.
Man. Okay.
Maybe
the other day I swear I remembered the four of us talking about it, and I looked it up. We never did it.
I remember talking. Maybe we talked about it off.
Maybe you were near me
show.
when someone says something stupid like, "Hey, Bill, what do you think about Mario Bava?" And then you couldn't get away for an hour. That probably came up in conversation.
Maybe. Or maybe I'm just old and can't remember anything.
Yeah, but you definitely can see some of his flourishes in here, like we said, and I think we all want to see more of that in this film. But when we do get those particular scenes, this film really does shine. But let's talk about. We talked about this one more thing before we wrap up, and that was some of the visuals that kind of tie the film together. The hands. I think somebody was mentioning why the big plastic hand that we see. What the hell does that mean? It's in one of these shots. Bill, I can't find the shot. Which one is it?
I think it was in the one you just had up.
Oh, was it?
Where the kids down there.
Oh, there's there. I got a better one.
Yeah.
Hang on. We'll find it.
There it is. You just went by it.
There it is.
There you go.
There it is, right there. So this hand is, and it even moves around.
I was trying to do that.
Yes. All right. So so there's that in the swing, right? What do they do?
Yeah.
This one is because it's the hand imagery is used throughout with the blade, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that the hand is actually her, right? Spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
Because even at the very end when it's coming up, right? So, I
Mm,
mean,
is there a ghost?
well, that's just what I'm ghost.
A ghosty poo?
The ghosty poo, yeah.
We don't have a picture of the ghosty poo. He shows up.
No, it's actually hard. It was hard to find some good photos from this.
But I don't have a clue for the swing, other than the fact that
I think it just meant the
ghosty
symbolized
poo.
the airplane,
the airplane.
But I don't know.
I thought
I like the swing's cool because it swings in and out. The way, like the shot where it comes up and then it's out of frame and then comes back in.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a nice, easy way to show that there's a presence here. If there is a presence, I mean, this movie is very ambiguous about what is really happening. Except the only thing we know for sure. Well, yeah, we don't really know what's going on. The only thing we know for sure at the end is that this kid is well and truly screwed. He's either going crazy because his mom was insane. This got passed on to him. And that is kind of a theme you see a lot in Bava's stuff, the idea of the sins of the fathers being visited onto the next generation. Or he isn't crazy, and there really is, his best friend is his dead dad who's now going to be with him. That ain't going to end well either. So yeah, there's no happy ending in all this, but it's kind of ambiguous. You could just as easily say everything that we saw that was at all supernatural was through the eyes of a clearly disturbed woman.
Mm-hmm.
No reason to think any of that really happened.
Mm-hmm.
She thought a rake was a hand coming from the grave grabbing her.
Yeah.
She's got a few screws loose.
I loved after she buries the pick in Bruno's chest, and then she shoves him through the hole with the pick attached.
But you can't get it through.
It's catching out the wall.
Yeah.
That was just awesome.
Oh, it was funny. Oh my god, it was like
That might be hard to take a pick out of somebody's chest that's really buried. I don't know.
That was a good shot there. I mean, not the shot of him trying to pick it, but the actual stick.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, because it was kind of a shock too, just like the movie's name, a shock. Because you didn't really see that coming. I kept thinking again. I thought he was going to turn out to be driving her crazy or doing something like that. It's like no, he's in love with a beautiful crazy woman. We've all been there, and he's trying to make the best of a bad situation, and he gets a pick in his chest for it. It's like,
yes.
Okay.
Jeff, did you just raise your hand when
I did? Well, Doc did. I think he was looking at me or something.
Man, you guys are in so much trouble.
Yeah.
I hope your wives don't watch the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh,
my wife barely will watch the movies with me, so she's not going to watch the podcast. I'm safe.
All right.
yeah.
Well,
As far as
I see Jeff's little finger just come right in the frame, right? Like, I'm not going to commit. I'm not going to commit that heavily.
little finger.
when Dora or Daria slices her own neck with a box cutter, the sound effects I thought made that awesome. I mean, that really sounded like she was like cutting through tendons and bone and stuff. I mean,
that was vicious too because it was slow.
Yeah,
it's slow. It's like the thought of usually when you see a scene like that, it's quick. Game of Thrones, and then blood sprays out. But to actually, that's almost like committing seppuku. It's just to do that slowly to yourself. The thought of that is just bone chilling and a very simple effect. I mean, the blood tube was hidden in the other hand, and it comes gushing out, but it looks great with the. You're right. The sound effect was terrific, and boy, we followed this poor woman through the whole thing, and this is the payoff.
Yeah.
It's a pretty bleak.
Pure 70s, right? Am I right?
It is.
70s.
It is.
And especially 70s Italian movies. What? Bay of Blood ends with the little kids, right? Yeah, the little bastards shooting, killing people. Flesh for Frankenstein ends with the little kids probably about to dissect the hero.
What about the American films?
Give me a bleak doomsday ending that ends bad any day.
Yeah.
I love bleak endings.
Oh, you must have loved The Mist.
I did. I thought it was genius.
The bleakest of bleak.
Oh, you could not get any bleaker.
When I became aware of bleak movies, bleak endings was a double feature of Dirty Harry and Crazy Larry, Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry,
right?
right? 30 Minute Crazy Larry.
Mhm.
And not White Line Fever, Vanishing Point, back on a
Vanishing
double
Point.
feature. Both of those films
Yeah.
have the bleakest. You're hoping
Well,
for them. You
it
want to
takes-
win.
it
Stick
takes
Charles
courage.
Bronson's, stick
It
the
takes
mechanic
courage
in there
to go
too.
there.
Yeah.
Anybody can do a happy ending, but shove a bleak ending, unhappy ending in the audience's face and see
Well,
what happens.
that was the 70s attitude, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Really
happy
was.
endings are for the 50s. We're the 70s, man. Everything sucks. The Crazies. I mean, all of Romero's movies. What happy ending does Romero have? Yeah.
Disco. Hey, we got I Was Made for Loving You. It wasn't all that bad.
Can't Stop the Music had a happy ending, so there you go.
Can't Stop the Music. Really?
Yeah.
Did Bill?
Yeah.
It
ended, and I was happy, so there you go.
The Omen had a happy ending. The kid lived.
You sure did. Smiled for the camera. Yeah. So we got to go out humming the happy tune, the theme from The Omen, Omo, Damien, off to the popcorn. Yeah.
You guys are crazy.
That got nominated for Best Song at Academy Award. I'm thinking, if there's ever a song that does not have a shot of winning, it's the theme song from The Omen. I mean, it's either that or the Randy Newman Pixar thing. I wonder which is going to win. Come on.
There's something about that song too. I'm trying to remember what that was. Anyway.
What? All right.
No, that was something. I remember talking about that song when we did The Omen. There was some trivia about it. But
speaking of the music, I like the music for this one. It's not Goblin, but it's Goblin-esque. And it makes you certainly sends you back to that time when all good Italian movies had that prog rock kind of soundtrack thing.
Yeah.
Appropriate or not.
Yep.
A lot of it sounded, or there were a couple of pieces in there that sounded like action film music that kind of took you out of things a little bit, but
occasionally,
that
like I said,
happened
not
a lot.
Appropriate.
It happened a lot, yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap this one up because I think we talked about
why
we're talking about the actual film itself. All right, now that we've had this discussion, we've talked about where this fits in not only horror cinema but in the legacy of Mario Bava. What do we think of it? What do we recommend? We got to do it. And Bill, you've got to go first because
get
the lecture out of the way. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Let us know, sir.
I would not make this I think it's actually, and it can be done now because there's so many of them available. You can watch his films more or less in sequential order with a few gaps here and there. And I think that's a good way to do it. And this is not his best film, but it is his last film. And it's not a bad film. How many filmmakers can say that? There's usually a severe artistic decline, even among those that we really like, Argento being one of the worst examples. But Bava didn't really have an artistic decline. He had an opportunity decline. He wasn't able to get the movies made that he wanted. The ones that he did were often under bad circumstances, and they got taken away from him and re-edited. But his vision was still solid right up to the end. He was a true visionary, just a brilliant filmmaker. His movies are not always great movies, but there's a lot of great filmmaking involved. Mm-hmm. And I think it's hard not to appreciate what he is. And it's no surprise to me that he has come to be so recognized, sadly, after he was gone, though he was recognized when he was alive. He wasn't one of those guys who toiled in obscurity. Everybody liked him. But it's great to be able to see this now. And so, yeah, definitely you want to watch this, but I'd watch some of the others first so you can see what the fuss is all about. And then once you come to appreciate what a Bava film is like and some of the motifs and things, then watch this one as kind of a sad, but not altogether sad farewell to a great filmmaker.
Yeah. I mean, it's worth noting that he was only in his early 60s.
Yeah.
Or in his late 50s when he was retiring from filmmaking. He died of a heart attack at the age of 65. I mean, that is still young.
Mm-hmm.
He's not like,
Yeah,
you would think that the
he
way
still had a lot of good movies.
Yeah, I know the way you're describing. You think he was in his 80s or 90s.
Yeah,
right? But,
yeah,
he was,
No, but I think he his health issues had sort of come to him. He wasn't a drug user. He wasn't anything else. He was just a guy who lived his life. And, toward the end, there's a lot of stories that go on here. Before this movie, he was involved with King Kong, the remake. Daniel De Laurentiis actually wanted him to do the special effects for King Kong, and very wisely he turned them down and suggested Carlo Rambaldi to do them, because I think that would have been a nightmare for him to go off to America, which he didn't like, leaving Italy, and work on this horrifying project with, just, I think it would have worked out. But he was going to do a movie called Baby Kong that was going to be like an Italian comedy.
No.
I know. And that's one of those things. Usually I say, oh man, it's so sad movies didn't get made. I'm glad that one didn't get made. And he made this one instead. And got to work with his son. And I think that was probably a good thing for him, because that's how he got into the business, watching his dad. So,
Now, apparently he didn't really like his own career, because the quote in here is, I made, in my entire career, I made only big bullshits.
Yeah.
Well, you got to go big.
Yeah.
Some would argue. All right there, Chad, sir. Give us your final thoughts, sir.
It's like I said that early on. It's not my favorite Bava film, and I wish if his last film would have been something that was just fireworks and dynamite, just something that he could have went out on a high note. Not saying that this is a bad film. It is a good film, and I'm glad we watched it. And I really appreciate the fact that we have covered so much Bava on the Decades of Horror podcasts, and getting to know his films and appreciating the filmmaking side of what he did. If you're an aspiring filmmaker and you watch Black Sunday or Bay of Blood or one of those films, you could do a lot worse than to emulate what Bava was doing and study what he was doing. So yeah, this isn't his best film, but it's still, I'm glad we covered it, and I'm glad I watched it. Just for that fact alone, that it was his last film, and like Bill said earlier, it's not a decline in quality; it's a decline in opportunity. I think he actually did the best he could with what he had to work with here, because and it was just it was a good movie, but I still have that feeling as a fan now of Bava that I wish it would have been better as his last film. But I would recommend it to people that have not seen it. Yeah, you need to watch it.
Jeff Mohr, sir, final thoughts.
Well, maybe Bill, maybe you mentioned this, but we did Phenomena in the 80s, and we
Phenomena.
Yeah. We
Sorry,
recorded
I have to do
it.
that every time Jeff says it. I have to say
Yeah.
that.
We recorded it. I'll have to start breaking that up. We recorded it shortly before Daria Nicolodi died, so we didn't talk about that. But she just died a little over 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it's neat that she is the person in this film. I don't know how many how many films there are like that, but in this one, she is the centerpiece.
But can I just interrupt for a second? Because something I meant to bring up is that Mario Bava was not a big fan of actors. He often joked that he wanted to make a movie where the furniture was doing it, and I guess in this one he sort of did. But he really, he really liked her, and it was, the feeling was mutual. He was very fond of her, and I think that may be why this is one of the movies that really focuses so much more on the actors than on the set pieces and the effects and everything. I think with her he actually found someone that he respected and liked working with. Yeah. So yes, I'm really sorry she's gone, because she definitely was a unique and beautiful presence in these films.
Yep, agreed. So yeah, I don't have much to say about the film that we haven't already said. There's some really strange dialogue. It feels awkward, but I just assume that's translation. There's a couple of really weird scenes with the kid that kind of ramps up the creep factor. But I really like as we see her progression into madness, I guess.
Yeah.
And like Bill said, I like the shot constructions. There's always something to look at, even if you don't like the dialogue or the acting, there's something to look at. It's an interesting look. So I think you got to check it out. It's been on Shudder for quite a while, I think, and Amazon. So check it out.
Check it out. Yeah, Bava's like Fulci, but with an actual story.
Yeah,
where you can understand it. You talk about the dialogue. You watch a Fulci film or any other, there really isn't a difference. I think most of that is just, how it makes it to the States. But this one is interesting because it is so focused with the cast, right? We're basically almost entirely focused on Dario, right? We get the kid from time to time, and then the new husband comes in and out of the story.
Yeah.
So we really are focused on her, and it's really her story. And she carries the film, and there's definitely, I think, you probably got that same kind of attention with Black Sunday, but maybe not as strongly as you did with like Black Sabbath and Boris Karloff, because he seemed to really just embrace Boris Karloff in that film. Yeah. And I don't, arguably he does here too, but it's unfortunately there just isn't a whole lot here. There's
a thin plot.
There's enough. It's entertaining. It's fun. There are some very interesting scenes to pick up on as a fan of Bava, as a fan of filmmaking, as a fan of horror films. There's literally a genre-defining scene in here that is used in films today. And we get furniture coming to life. I forgot about that. Yeah, the furniture is attacking this poor woman, and it's really awesome.
Yeah.
It's done so well too. I really do want to like this movie a lot more than I do, but at the same time, I don't dislike it at all. Right? It's I don't like the title though. I kind of like Beyond the Door 2 better, but
it's kind of generic.
Yeah, but shock.
The most shocking thing is when the rat runs up her leg, which, by the way, was a rubber rat, and that's about the best rubber rat I've ever seen.
That was a creepy ass thing too.
That's pretty good.
Come out of nowhere. Whew, where'd it go? I don't know where it went. But I was waiting for something to come out of that damn hole in the wall. They missed an opportunity.
Chad was like, "Oh, thank God, it's just a rat. I was afraid it was going to be another hand."
Another hand.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's exactly what I thought.
Oh, gosh. All right, well, there you go. There's our review for Shock, also known as Beyond the Door 2, from Mario Bava from 1977. It's available in most streaming Amazon Prime, Shudder. It's out there if you want to catch it. We'd love to hear from you. What did you think? What do you think of Mario Bava? Are you like Bill Mulligan? Are you an uber fan of Mario Bava?
Or are you just wrong? You can go either way.
Don't be shy. You can be wrong. Let us know in the comments down below. If you want to help support us, it's really easy to do, and it's free. Just hit the subscribe button or share with a friend. It's even better. Just that really helps. If you want to take a step further, you can hit the like button, dislike, give us some comments. We also want to take a moment to thank our patrons, because without the patrons, we wouldn't be able to do this show, H&R, Heroes and Droids, and of course all the podcasts and stuff at Gruesome Magazine. So thank you all so very, very much. Really cool things you get there are like these episodes as like a week or 2 weeks early. You get the early access to almost the entire Decades of Horror library, right?
Yeah.
I think all of them are on there now.
Wait, Dallas Nostromo is a Patreon? He should be paying us.
For listening to those jokes?
For listening to those dad jokes, yeah. He should be paying us for each dad joke he did.
Look at these fine people. Wouldn't you like to join this group of cool kids? Yeah, we love Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas is all right.
He's got the coolest name. His parents really knew what they were doing when they named him.
Now, Paul Cardullo, I can take or leave him, but yeah, the rest are pretty solid folk.
Paul helps everybody.
Oh, yeah.
He's a great guy.
He brings donuts to movie shoots. We love Paul.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
Is that all it takes to get your love is a donut?
Yeah?
Yeah, pretty much.
Have you ever been on a movie set? Whoever runs the craft service table is the most respected. It's not the director that everybody listens to.
Hey, Paul's
Yeah.
here.
Who brought the donuts? That's what everybody wants to know.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Paul, who brought the donuts?
Mhm.
All right. We know what's coming up next. I think we do.
We do.
We do.
Somebody picked it. It was Chad.
Oh, this has got to be good, or it's going to be terrible.
Yes.
It could be a little bit of both in this case. It's Godzilla versus the cosmic monster.
Well, you had me at Godzilla.
Godzilla versus Bionic Monster, Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla. Take your pick.
Take a pick. I don't know. The Cosmic Monster has the best poster.
Yeah.
It's kind of reminiscent of those famous monster covers.
Yeah.
We probably don't have time. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're fine. We don't have time.
We probably don't have time, but I am prepared this time with feedback. So.
Well, let's go. Feedback. Give us one.
We have tons of feedback, mostly because I went back and got it all and put it together. But I'll do one long one this time.
Okay.
And then we'll do a bunch of short ones next time.
That sounds good.
This is from our buddy Alistair Hughes down New Zealand way on
Love that guy.
Gargoyles. Yeah. And he calls us Dear Halter Top Wearing Grue Crew. After Jennifer Saw, we're going to have to start dressing like the characters in the movies, right?
I'm not.
Okay.
Go for it, Jeff. Go for it.
What a marvelous people will quit watching. What a marvelous episode. I love gargoyles. Even at the tender age I was when first seeing this film, I remember being astonished at how much of the title characters we got to see. This just never happened in TV movies of the time, or not until the very final scenes, at least. Mm-hmm. So I think Bill is absolutely right. The director must have fallen in love with Stan Winston's Emmy-winning work on the costumes and wanted to give them as much screen time as he could. It's a credit to the future FX maestro just how well the suit stood up to probably far more scrutiny than he would have been led to anticipate. Full daylight, slow motion, they may as well have been made to strut their stuff on a Paris catwalk. But having said this, Bertie Casey's lead gargoyle is still a masterpiece, beautifully performed and realized, especially when combined with Vic Perrin's modulated voice. Even now, I can't meet someone called Diana without wanting to croak their name in a bad impersonation of those creepy tones, just like I just did. And this probably explains why I'm now forced to live alone in a cave surrounded by giant eggs in constant fear of dirt bike gangs. Ultimately, Gargoyles gave us far more bang for a buck than we could ever have expected from a TV movie in 1972, and we loved this audacious production for it, and many of us still do. Thank you so much for unfurling your leathery wings to attack this small screen extravaganza. You were all in excellent form, Grue Crew. As the lead gargoyle says, go on, your voices please me. And I can't wait for Silent Stanley, a.k.a. Asylum of Satan, next time. Okay, I must fly. Al.
That's awesome.
Al.
Thank you,
buddy.
Thank you, sir.
However, just as a safety tip for guys out there, if you meet a girl at a bar named Diana, it's probably not a great move to Diana. Women don't go for that. I don't understand why. Who knows how they think? But
yeah, Al put so much into his comments. I hate to short him and not read the whole thing.
Yeah.
He's got lots of good stuff in there too. So thanks again, Alistair.
Thank you, sir.
All right, catch us in 2 weeks when we get to Godzilla. Yes, you were saying?
Check out his book.
Yes.
Yes.
Which I totally forget what it's called. Infogothic. About Hammer horror films.
I totally forgot what it's called. I love it. All right.
My best friend, who I forget his name.
Bill, Jeff, thank you for joining me tonight. This was a lot of fun.
Same here.
It was.
Always good.
All right, let's say good night.
Good night.
Good night, folks.
Good night. Bye.